The adventure rolls on. We're headed out of Illinois, back across the Ohio into Paducah. Check out the murals down there. And then we take 24 south to a little town that's got some old friends we need to visit. Y'all ready? I've now made the way to Woodlawn Memorial Park. It's a cemetery here in Nashville. We're going to pay our respects to a few folks. Let's go find ourselves the possum. Talk to a man about a paycheck. Here we are, the possum. I've been wanting to come to this for a very long time. There's just nobody with a voice like George Jones. Many have tried, many have failed. Oh, no-show Jones, the possum, whatever you want to call him. One of a kind. One of a kind. As you can see there, he left us in April of 2013. Hard to believe it's been a little over 11 years. So his birthday coming up in September the 12th. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. This beautiful tribute. George and Nancy Ann. They were married on March the 4th, 1983. You can see he put a golden band on the right left hand that time. There's so many songs that are referenced here, but my goodness. Think of all the songs in pop culture. I mean, he stopped loving her today, right there. Think about The Race Is On, the Grand Tour. It's been a good year for the Roses. On and on and on. Unbelievable. One of the greatest voices that will ever grace this earth. When you hear George, you know it's George. So thanks, Possum, for everything you gave us, everything you left behind, and all the inspiration. You're loved, and you're missed. Speaking of another unique voice, Mr. Johnny Paycheck. And while he may not have all the hits that George Jones brought us, everybody knows, take this job and shut it. Mr. Johnny Paycheck joined the earth May the 31st of 1938, and he left us all to fly high February the 19th, 2003. Thank you, Johnny. This next one's pretty important, and one of the big reasons that I wanted to make the trip to Nashville, of course, seeing George and Johnny and Tammy Wynette's here, Jerry Reed's here. But one man in particular comes from my neck of the woods, southeastern Kentucky. Born in Harlan, Kentucky. Jerry Chestnut wrote songs that were recorded by the likes of Elvis Presley, Alan Jackson, Johnny Cash, Loretta Lynn, and many, many, many more. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Mr. Jerry Chestnut. You may not recognize that name, but if I told you that Jerry wrote Trouble, that was recorded by Elvis Presley and later by Travis Tritt, both were hits. That's how you know when you've written a song that is very, very special. There you go, right on his plaque, Trouble, 4 in the morning. Good Year for the Roses. Another Place, Another Time, which was Jerry Lee Lewis. Holding On to Nothing. It's Midnight. Love Coming Down. Oni. And the Wonders You Perform. Saved by Grace. It's what we all hope to be. He was his wife, Patricia. They were married in 1984. And she too was a woman of faith. The Lord is my shepherd. Pat is still alive, but Johnny's been gone since 2018. Together forever in God's loving care. That's all we ever want. There's a Kentuckian that's an inspiration for generations. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for Pat for allowing us to use your husband. It's hard sometimes when someone's famous. A lot of people don't really want to share their loved one with the world. But when it happens, it's beautiful for everyone. So thank you, Jerry. You're missed, you're loved, and you're an inspiration. Mr. Jerry Chestnut. I'm an absolute sucker for a song that can take the first line and put you right where you need to be. I'm standing here in front of a grave of a man that wrote a song that does just that better than probably any. Down in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. By the guitar chords, you know it's not going to end well. It's a beautiful song, it's a beautiful story, it's a tragic end. Much like Marty Robbins. Marty joined us September 26th of 1925, and he left us December 8th, 1982. Beautiful. Beautiful memorial. Thank you, Marty. Thank you very much. You're missed. You're remembered. You're loved. The brightest star on any stage was always Porter Wagner. Maybe it was his sequence, maybe it was his talent. Either way, there was no better showman. And right here we are, Mr. Porter Wagner. Growing up, me and my dad loved music. I'm probably a little more obsessive over it than he was, but man, he really had a good ear. And one of the songs that we would always sing together, as loud as we could in the car, was Drift Away by Mr. Dobie Gray. I mean, does it get more beautiful than Give Me the Beat Boys and Free My Soul? I want to get lost into rock and roll. It's perfect. It's perfect. Real name Lawrence D. Brown. Came to us July 26, 1940, and left us December 6, 2011. And there it is. Want to get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. Thanks, Dobie. Thanks for everything. Hey, few folks in Nashville have had a profound effect on me. Probably many, but the gentleman that we're about to look at here, say our thanks to. In pop culture, he was in one of the biggest movies ever made. He wrote the song as the title song, I should say. He actually won a battle with Colonel Tom Parker over his publishing rights with the song that Elvis Presley recorded. I'm talking, of course, about Mr. Jerry Reed. I mean, everyone loves Smokey and the Bandit. Everyone loves Guitar Man. She Got the Gold Mine, I Got the Shaft. Just some great, great music and some wonderful memories. So thank you, Mr. Jerry Reed. Here together we find Miss Katie Oslin and the undeniable force that was Miss Tammy Wynette. Of course, you got the power couple, Tammy and George. Even got someone sealed it with a kiss, Miss Tammy Wynette. Name a better power duo, only equaled by maybe Conway and Loretta. George Jones, Tammy Wynette. Here we find the crypt for Miss Lynn Anderson. probably best known for her hit, I Never Promised You a Rose Garden, which they actually have dedicated a rose garden in her memory out front the mausoleum here. This next stop in the mausoleum, it's a cozy little corner with several important people in here. None probably bigger than this fella right here. Little Jimmy Dickens. He was a staple on the Grand Ole Opry. He's iconic. He was a small man in stature, but boy, was his impact massive. Just a wonderful, wonderful individual by all accounts. So happy I could be here to pay my condolences. Up top is Jim Ed Brown. Jim Ed Brown had a wonderful career, also a big star with the Grand Ole Opry. Then down here we have Miss Dottie Rambo. She was a wonderful lady by all accounts, and a beautiful country artist. Then we have, just above little Jimmy Dickens, we have the mother and father of actress Lily Tomlin. The last person I wanted to pay my respects to while we're here is Mr. J.D. Sumner. J.D. was a very deep voice, a very notable voice. He was in the Stamps Quartet. He played a lot with Elvis Presley. I mean, the man was everywhere. Mr. J.D. Sumner. We've made our way to a different cemetery here in Nashville. This is the Spring Hill Cemetery. Apparently this is the family plot of the Acuffs. You can see several of them on the ground there. But the gentleman we're here to see and pay respects to today is Mr. Roy Acuff. Now Roy is a man that has a huge history in country music. And he also played a very large role in the career of the Everly Brothers. So he's someone that I definitely wanted to stop and just let him know he's still remembered, he's still loved, he's still thought about. It's all we can ever hope for in this old life. So thanks, Roy, for all you did and all you did for others. My next stop is someone that I don't know a whole lot about, but I will never forget who he is and the music that he left. My grandmother on my mom's side, Granny Trent, for those curious, she had some records, not a whole lot. Obviously, being the wife of a pastor, it was mostly gospel, which is fine by me. But one artist in particular that she used to play all the time, and the song in particular that I fell in love with was called Chariots of Fire. It was from a movie. I want to say St. Elmo's Fire, maybe? I don't remember, to be perfectly honest. I'll look it up. I'll put it on the video here. But growing up in church, being in church, hearing piano, loving the piano, Mr. Floyd Cramer was someone I always listened to and I always loved. He was an instrumentalist. He played with everybody. He's a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame as well as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Very few folks have both those honors. So it's really cool to just stop by, let him know he's thought of, let him know he's loved, and maybe throw a little love up to my granny as well. So on to the next one. Now we stop someone's grave that took bluegrass music to an entirely different level. Bill Monroe, we know him, we love him, had two members of his early bands, Lester Flatts and Earl Scruggs. About the same time they both resigned from Bill Monroe's band, they joined up together and made their own band. They were wildly popular, and bluegrass was not something most people knew of. It was an offshoot of country, but it was so different. And a lot of things that were brought to the forefront of being different came from Earl Scruggs. In fact, his three-finger style of picking, which is now called Scruggs picking, led them to success unimaginable. But then there was a little television show that came along. The television show was called The Beverly Hillbillies. Together, they wrote the song The Ballad of Jed Clampett, and, as they would say, the rest is history. So here we are. Mr. Earl Scruggs. January 6, 1924 to March 28th, 2012. We'll take a little closer look here at his placards. And I'm sure a lot of what I just told you will be mentioned. Here's his lovely wife, Louise. So thank you, Earl. And thank you, Louise, for allowing your husband to share his talents with the world. You're both missed, loved, and remembered. Born Ellen Deason, this next lady broke down all the barriers that she possibly could in becoming the first female country music star. Her song, God Didn't Make Honky Tonk Angels, was the first to hit #1. She paved the way for the likes of Loretta Lynn and Patsy Cline and just Tammy Wynette and Dolly Parton. She broke the door down for everybody. And I'm talking, of course, about Miss Kitty Wells, as she was known professionally. And here she is with her husband. Beautiful couple. So thank you to both of you. Miss Kitty Wells, thank you for changing the world and making it a better place. I had a file go corrupt on my GoPro, so this little intro is missing here. Essentially, I'm just introducing the fact that I'm at the grave of Keith Whitley. Was Ricky Skaggs and a young man by the name of Keith Whitley. Here's the thing. Many consider Keith's voice, his tone, to be the best that's ever done it. It's the perfect blend of, it's got a tiny amount of nasal, it's got a heavy load of throat. It's just this perfect balance, man. It's just unbelievable. So while Keith was alive, he had 2 albums released, 12 songs charted while he was with us, 7 more charted after he left us. He had 6 #1 songs. And I'm going to flip this around here to the grave itself. And I'm going to get my notes out here so I can tell you exactly what those songs were, because I know I'd forget some. So, his #1s were Don't Close Your Eyes, When You Say Nothing at All, I'm No Stranger to the Rain, I Wonder Do You Think of Me, and It Ain't Nothing. Now, in I believe 2022, yeah, Keith was inducted. Let's clean that off for him a little bit. Keith was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. He had an album and a song, The Kentucky Bluebird. If you've never heard it, I highly suggest you find it. At the time, he was married to Miss Lori Morgan, who's still with us, thankfully. Keith struggled, as a lot of people do with depression, myself included. Alcoholism is what eventually took Keith from us. That's not a fun way to go. Keith deserved better, and his legacy proves that. And I do want to share one thing with you that I thought about the other day. This was a couple weeks ago. I had no idea I was going to do this trip. Keith Whitley has now been dead longer than he was alive. That's unbelievable to me. Like, what? How is that possible? But anyway, Sandy Hook, Kentucky's Keith Whitley. And I do have a photo somewhere of the cenotaph or the statue that is in Sandy Hook for Keith. But for now, Keith, brother, you were loved more than you ever know. You can't start a conversation about country music that your name does not enter. You became a bigger legend than you could have ever even imagined. But you were loved, you were remembered, and you were great. Thanks, Keith, for everything. Most celebrities, you just don't know who those people are. But a musician, it's a different story. Most of their songs come from their own thoughts. Their voice becomes familiar and more familiar every time you see and listen to them. There's that deep spiritual connection that you can have with artists. And there are probably 3 to 5 artists in the world that I feel everything that I just told you is true about. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard a Johnny Cash song. I cannot tell you how many times I've tried to learn a Johnny Cash song. There's just no one like Johnny Cash. And again, never met the man, never spoke a word to him, never saw him, nothing. As we have a big wasp joining the fight there. But yeah, Johnny's different. He's different for everybody. He even took a song that was written by Trent Reznor towards the end of his life. And the song, of course, is called Hurt. And he did such a phenomenal job. Trent Reznor says, that's not my song anymore. That's a Johnny Cash song. You just don't do that without being something special. So I had to stop by and see my old friend here. Just tell him I miss him and I love him, you know? It's good to see that there are plenty of people that share my sentiment when it comes to old Johnny and June Carter Cash. As you can see, many folks have laid down $1. And you may wonder, why $1? What does $1 have to do with Johnny Cash? Well, I'll tell you something. Back in the day, drummers were not allowed to play on the Grand Ole Opry. Johnny didn't like that. So Johnny figured out a way to give him that loose snare sound, like a shuffle that you would play on a drum head, on a snare. Now what Johnny did is he took one of these dollars, right? Ordinary dollar. Nothing special about it. He intertwined it, he laced it between the strings of his guitar. And he muted the guitar above or below, depending on the song, that dollar on his guitar neck. And what that gave him was, with the rhythm he would play, he would get that train, that driving drum that at the time wasn't allowed on the Grand Ole Opry. Seems foolish now, right? I mean, wow. But that's just one of the really just cool, interesting facts about Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash. I'm going to try to see June's mama while I'm here, if I can find her. And I'm also going to see, oh, I see him now actually, Merle Kilgore, who's only a couple graves away. He helped write one of Johnny's biggest songs, Ring of Fire, which was actually wrote with June Carter Cash and Merle Kilgore. So we'll step over here and see him for just a second. Let's go ahead and do that while we're here. Let's give the man his due. I mean, he did help write one of the greatest songs ever written, right? Johnny Cash, Spanish styling, trumpets. Come on. There he is, Mr. Merle Kilgore. Here lies a beautiful dreamer, singer, songwriter, entertainer, and loved by all, including his pups. How about that? Merle Kilgore. So from here, I'm going to find, I see a couple Cash names not too far from here. Maybe I'll be able to find a Carter section. Here's another tribute to Merle. More and more. Johnny Webb, Wolverton Mountain, Ring of Fire as a co-writer. Big old cowboy boot. Flowers. I will meet you in the morning over there. And all my love, Judy. But yeah, John R. Cash, June Carter Cash. Wow. I just can't say thank you enough to both of these individuals. Again, never saw them, never met them, would have loved to have done so. But in my heart, in my soul, I know them. I know them. And I love them. So John, June, Merle, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. You made the world a better place. That's something we all strive to do. You're loved, you're missed, you're not forgotten. Turns out I was correct. Between Merle, Johnny and June are members of the Carter family. Here's Anita, Mother Maybelle Carter. I really like her. She's the first lady of country music. God has picked up his wildwood flower. Go on, plane, we're busy. And Ezra Carter here. So it's a family plot now, I suppose, with Merle, an adopted member, I'm sure. So there's Merle, several Carters. June and Johnny. Now here is Joanne Cash Yates. I'm not familiar with the family names there, but if they're here, I'm sure there's an importance to them. That's here's Reba Cash Hancock. So that's where we're going to stop here on this subject. But yeah, musicians, they're different. They give a connection to people all around the world without ever having to meet them. They allow you into their heart. They allow you into your brain. They put earworms in your ear holes. Something to behold. There you go. Thank you to all. Thank you to all. I'm not the only one come to see Sonny Osborne. You may have saw the little deer jump by there. I'm just going to do this one from my truck. I turned it off. There's two little fawns here and they're having a blast, so I didn't want to interrupt them. So no disrespect to Sonny here, but we're letting nature be nature. So Sonny Osborne, best known as part of the duo of the Osborne brothers. Both were born in Hyden, Kentucky, which is Leslie County. Certain sites say Roark community, others say Thousand Sticks. I'm not sure specifically, but I've always been fascinated with the Osborne brothers because two Kentuckians took a song written about Tennessee and probably made the most famous version of that song. That song being Rocky Top. That's right. Two Kentuckians took Rocky Top to its height. Obviously, there's a million versions of Rocky Top now, but that's really what put the Osborne brothers on the map, and that's why I'm here. I grew up listening to the Osborne brothers. Kentucky Waltz was probably my personal favorite. But yeah, it's always good to reconnect with artists that are from the Commonwealth, that are from the region that I'm originally from. And I just wanted to pay my respects. I believe his brother died in 2022. I'll have to look that up and get back to you, though. So thank you, Sonny. Thank you for all you've done. Well, hello. How are you? Nice to meet you. What's your name? Huh? What's your name? You got two pretty babies. Yeah. Good to meet you. On to the next one. If you like what you saw there, let us know in the comments below. Go ahead and throw a like on it if you want. Share it. Why not? Sharing is caring, right? Until next time, see ya.